What is up, everybody? Let's talk about water. Everybody thirsty, so we got to drink. Jumping right in, we're going to talk about water purification. Up top here, we have different methods of purification, and then down here we have different contaminants. Most common in natural waterways in America is different protozoa. Next, we have bacteria and viruses, right? These three are just what you're worried about if you're on like a mountain stream or whatever the case is, trying to get some pond water. This is what you're going to be worried about. However, if there's been a industrial spill or a leak or a massive flood that mixes in with a bunch of fertilizers or industrial waterways, you're going to be worried about metals and chemicals in the water as well. All right, so right off the bat, let me get my bearing here. Right off the bat, we have boiling. As we can see, boiling is good at taking care of protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. So under normal circumstances, boiling is 100% effective at cleaning and purifying our water. Next, we have utilization of UV light, whether that's sunlight or we use a UV pin or a tool. It also is 100% effective at taking care of all the natural contaminants, protozoa, bacteria, and viruses. Next, we have tabs, like these, Aquafina tabs. Drop them in your water, wait 60 minutes, and drink. They are pretty much mostly effective. They do 100% of bacteria, 100% of viruses, and they do the majority of protozoa that you're going to encounter without going more in depth than that. Iodine and straight chlorine or bleach are equally as effective. They're 100% effective against bacteria and viruses. However, they are not effective at all against protozoa. Filters down to 1 or 2 micron, like a Life Straw, are going to be 100% effective against protozoa and bacteria, but they are not going to do anything against viruses, metals, or chemicals. Carbon filters, right? Like a Sawyer or a Grail, are going to filter everything. They're going to filter everything. They're going to filter the protozoa, the bacteria, the viruses, as well as metals and chemical contaminants. All right. Oh, and our Life Straws are going to filter out some chemicals. Not a lot, but they will help against some chemicals. Cool. Take yourself a nice screenshot. All right. Whoa. Okay, so when we're trying to drink water and survive in an austere environment, whether that is as an individual out on a patrol, like an extended recon patrol or whatever the case is, or escaping and evading, or we're talking about running a homestead in a utility down situation, it's a similar thought process. It's just a change of scale, right? So we're going to have to store water. Hopefully we're starting from a non-zero point. Hopefully we have some water to drink already, right? We'll talk about that in a second, right? So we're going to have storage of water, and then we're going to have to collect water / pre-filter water. Ideally, there's going to be a pre-filter when we collect, and then a pre-filter when we're going from collecting to purifying. Then we're going to have a purification stage. Then we're going to drink that water and repeat the cycle all over again. Cool. So, as an individual out on a patrol, we're going to want to carry at least 6 liters of water on us, right? Some different containers we could use is a 2-quart canteen. Quarts and liters are practically interchangeable. A regular canteen, which carries 1 quart. A Nalgene, which this is a silo, so it's 1.5 liters rather than just a 1 liter Nalgene. It's a little bit taller. And camelbacks. Alright. Camelbacks are great and cool and fancy and awesome and wonderful. They bust. This is a source bladder. This is most likely not going to bust of all the camelbacks, but nonetheless, often I will not even take a camelback, and when I do take a camelback, I will always pair it with at least one, if not multiple, hard containers. All right. So between all of that, you're going to want to have a minimum of 6 liters of water on you, and you're going to want to have at least one, if not multiple, hard containers. Ideally, personally, honestly, exclusively hard containers. So, other than Camelbacks and 2-quart canteens, 1 quarts and Nalgene's, I always have, just like this right here, a canteen cup. On my belt, in a gear video that hopefully I'll do if I get motivated to do it, on my belt I have 2 quarts, 2 1-quart canteens, each of them with a canteen cup. So at a minimum, I could boil water. In my pack, I carry 2 more silos. Each of those have a canteen cup. So I have 4 canteen cups that I can utilize to boil water, if nothing else. In a shoulder pocket, I carry a little survival kit that has like some matches and a ferro rod and some tinder and aqua tabs. So I can use aqua tabs to purify a handful of Nalgene's or canteens of water as well. If I'm planning to be out for an extended period of time where I might actually have to purify water, I will take a Grail, which this has a large, nice thing that I can use to cook and also purify a good amount of water in. And inside here is a carbon filter. Now this is a lot of space for a little bit of water, and this filter only lasts for 350 presses, like this. So you would scoop whatever dirty pond water in here and then press it. And the act of you pressing it down like this is physically pushing that carbon filter over it and purifying it, and then you would get straight water pouring out of here like that. Cool. So if I'm planning on being out for any situation where I could get extended or be stuck in a situation where I need to purify water, I'm going to bring this. This is horrible at purifying gallons and gallons and gallons of water at scale. This is great at purifying water for one person on the move. I will also take a Steri pin, which this is a pin that utilizes UV light. Alright? So if I'm going on any sort of an extended patrol where there's a realistic possibility where I might get stuck somewhere further than a day's walk away from home and have to purify water for a couple days, I'm going to have on me always as an emergency some aqua tabs. On me always as an emergency a plethora of aluminum canteen cups that I can use to purify water boiling. And then I will, as a plan, carry a carbon filter and a UV Steri pin to sterilize water. And I will be carrying, before I leave, a minimum of 6 liters of water in a variety of containers, the majority of which being hard containers. Some on my body, some in my bag. Spread loaded. So I always have water. Cool. That's water for an individual considerations. Now, if I'm purifying water, pause. This is a little micron filter. This is actually used for making bubble hash in the hemp world. Oh, put you on some game, fams. Bubble hash bags are the shit for pre-filtering water, right? So if I'm going to collect water from a dirty pond or a stream, I can put this in here like that, and then dunk this in, glug, 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 collect all my water, and this is covered in a net that prevents any actual physical, it's not keeping the water, I'm not making it clean to drink, but I'm starting the process of purifying it, right? I don't have any chunks of rock or twigs or moss or bugs in my water, so then if I do that and then pop tabs in here, the water is going to be relatively nice to drink, right? I'm not going to have any gritty stuff in my water, any swimmers in there when I'm trying to drink. Pre-filter. Cool. All right, if I'm scaling that up, instead of carrying 6 liters of water on me, I'm going to be storing gallons and gallons of water. A person, at bare minimum, is going to be using 1 gallon of water in a base home environment a day. That's just for cooking and drinking. That's not for any hygiene. Realistically, you'll be looking at 2 gallons of water for like brushing your teeth, washing your hands once or twice, and taking like a whore's bath or a hobo bath, where you're just splashing water on your crack and your pits. Cool. So there are huge tanks, like 500 gallon and 1,000 gallon tanks of water. There's the classic 55 gallon food grade drums. There's 20 gallon, 7 gallon, 5 gallon containers for water readily available. There are these bad boys, which is a water bog. So you can put this in your bathtub and then fill it up with water, and then it will hold that water, not let it go down the drain, keep it clean from particulates and little kids dropping crayons in it or whatever the hell else, and give you a pump so you can get the water out of there at a rationed pace. And so if you have any sort of a heads up that something bad's about to happen, or it just did happen, and you can run and grab this, throw this in your tub, and drain the water out of the pipes in your house that is still clean and purified into this, that's awesome. Get one of those for each tub you have. Because storing water is difficult. You're never going to be able to store enough water, so you're always going to want to be able to plus that up right away as much as you can. Alright. Once we have depleted the water we used, and we have to start purifying it for the house, we're going to have to collect it. 5 gallon food grade tubs. So we would take these tubs down to Lay Creek, use more bubble hash bags with that micron filter there to pre-filter the water as it comes from the creek or whatever, the river source, the lake, whatever the case is, into my 5 gallon tubs. First level of pre-filtration. Then I would take these, carry them home, let them rest, set lids on them so more stuff doesn't fall into them, let them rest for a couple hours so that any sediment that is there falls to the bottom. Then, assuming I have the firewood or the propane fuel, scoop or pour that top water that has been pre-filtered once and doesn't have any sediment in it because we let it rest into a big old pot. This happens to be a pressure cooker, right? Whatever, it doesn't have to be a pressure cooker, just a big ass pot. Whatever the biggest pot you have is. If you don't have any big pots, maybe go out and buy some big cheap ones, maybe hit up a yard sale, whatever the case is. Get you some big pots so you can boil several gallons of water at once. I have a few of these, not just one. So we're pre-filtering, collecting, letting it settle. So there's another level of pre-filtration. Pouring it into here. If we need to, when we pour from there into here, we can use yet another pre-filter. So now we have 2 or 3 methods of pre-filtration. And then we have our initial purification, assuming that I am able to have the fire and not be at risk with the signature. And assuming I have the fuel, which I should, I'll do a fire. I will boil the water. If I cannot boil the water, because I do not have the fuel or I cannot have the signature of a fire, I will substitute that stage of purification with aqua tabs, large ones for large quantities of water. So instead of having a physical purification, I'll have a chemical purification. Not as good, but still a stage, right? We're going to do a multi-layered approach. After I have boiled or chemically purified my water, it will then go into clear glass jugs, and they will get set out in the sun with a cork on it so more stuff doesn't fall into it. They will set out in the sun for as long as I can let them, up to 24 hours. If it's up to 24 hours in the sun, it will be completely sterilized for sure, no questions about it. But the longer the better, and whatever it can get is better than nothing, right? So I'll go into these jugs. These jugs will set out in the sun, and they will get UV sterilized. Wonderful and great. Once they're UV sterilized, they will go into this Berkey. So long as I still have filters and I haven't run through so many 1,000 gallons or whatever it is that my filter's no longer good, I will then take that water and put it in the Berkey. And once it comes out of the Berkey, if there's any questions about it, any questions in that process, everybody in my family can have a life straw, their own individual life straw. Again, this isn't a fail-safe, but this is another level, right? Also, if there's any questions about it, I can use a SteriPin. I have 2 of these. One runs off AA's, and this one is recharged from battery banks or electricity or solar or whatever the case is, right? So, a multi-stage process to go over it all together without explaining each step. I'm going to collect the water in buckets using a pre-filter. I'm going to let that water settle. I'm then going to use another pre-filter and pour it into big pots where it will be boiled and or chemically purified. Once that has happened to it, it will then go into clear jugs and be set out in the sun so that it can have UV put on it. Once the UV has been put on it, it will go to a filter. Once it has been filtered, it should be safe to drink. If for any reason I have any questions about that, I can put another stage of UV on it from SteriPins once it's in an actual drinking glass, and then individual members of the team or family can use life straw to drink out of that glass. So there are several stages of filtration. I'm not relying on just one system. I have multiple systems set in place to ensure no matter what, my water is filtered at the base level. At the individual level out on patrol, I don't have the resources, I can't carry the weight, I don't have the time to take all those luxuries to have those multi-staged approach. I want to carry a couple different options on me, because 2 is 1 is none. But I'm probably not going to be employing, probably not going to be boiling the water and running it through the Grail and hitting it with a SteriPin. Probably not going to do all that. It's going to be like one or the other, right? The boiling of the water is just there in case everything else is fucked. I have this aluminum cup. I can put water in it and boil it. Back at home, where I'm feeding women and children and my sick people and the elderly, etc., I can't be fucking around. A multi-staged purification system. All right? Some honorable mentions. Soy water filter. Just like life straws. Awesome. This is a Survivor water filter. It's dope because it has the string and a little pre-filter and a pump. So you can run this down into the water. If it's hard to get to, right? If it's down in a little whatever. And then use your filter and pump. Which is another way. Because you have a life straw. What are you going to do? And then spit it in your canteen. That's fucking whack. Now you're probably going to have this. Have one end going in the water. One end going into your canteen. And just... You can do it up real quick like that. So that's cool. That's a Survivor filter. That shit is legit. The other thing I'm going to talk about, if you're in an urban environment, pick up a water sill. Apartment buildings, business buildings, whatever the case is, large city, skyscraper, multi-level brick buildings. You need this tool to turn the water on, right? Don't break any laws. Don't do anything wrong. Daddy didn't tell you. You didn't hear it from me. Be a good little boy. But if you're thirsty and about to die, and there's a big old, industrial factory next to you, and there's a water spigot out there, you probably need this that you can buy on Amazon, a 2-pack for like fucking $8 or something. Maybe get a few of those and keep them in your pockets. That's water. Don't die of dehydration. Listen, you can go 3 days without water, so they say, but after 12 hours, you're going to be fucking not doing good. After 24 hours, it's going to be difficult to accomplish anything or think well. After 36 hours to 48 hours, you're going to be cramping so bad you literally won't have use of your hands anymore. You need to drink water. Like, always. You basically can go you can thug it out for 6 hours without water. and then you need to get a bunch of fucking water, or else you're gonna start going downhill fast. So, get it ready, man.